Playtime is over. Preseason is over. The quest for a Southeastern Conference crown and a shot to play in the college football playoff starts this Saturday for the Alabama Crimson Tide as the Florida Gators stroll into Tuscaloosa Bryant-Denny Stadium. And with that being said, welcome to 15 County, Touchdown Alabama Magazine's premier football show, coming to you live from the friendly confines of Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I'm joined as always by my partner in crime, Ivan L. White. Ivan, what's going on?
Nothing much, man. Just ready. Big SEC football has finally arrived.
Big SEC football, as we mentioned, playtime is over. Alabama had 3 warm-up games with West Virginia, Florida Atlantic, and Southern Miss, but now it's a true test. The Gators, Will Muschamp, stroll into Tuscaloosa. Well, last week, Alabama took on Southern Miss. We saw more of Blake Sims' efficiency. We saw more of getting that ball to Amari Cooper as he's having a Heisman-esque season. But we also saw more of the defense struggling to make tackles a bit there. Now, Trader Priest improved at linebacker last week. He had 6 tackles. But when your defensive back, Landon Collins, is leading your team in tackles with 27, something's eerie about that. Alabama has got to break down and make tackles. How will they be able to do that against Florida?
The way I think they can do that against Florida is something that everybody should do against the quarterback at Florida named Jeff Driscoll. And what I mean by that is rush, and rush. You send blitzes his way like he's never seen before. Jeff Driscoll is a above average SEC quarterback at best, in my opinion. So putting pressure on him, I'm going to want to see him make those quick decisions. Is he going to be able to make those quick flat passes? Is he going to be able to get enough time in the pocket if you're sending extra men at him? That's the way I think. Now, going back to Landon Collins and him leading the team in tackling, it's because the first and second level isn't getting the job done. It's coming on Landon Collins' shoulders now to get those tackles in open field to make sure those touchdowns don't happen. And I think the Crimson Tide obviously aren't going to be able to sustain that during the whole SEC season if they want to be successful, win an SEC championship, and possibly even make the college football playoff. So I would want them to see, even though I'm telling them to send more blitzes, I want to see them be able to get the first and second level to get most of the tackles. Yes, I want Landon Collins to be a star player in the game, but if he can do what he does best in pass coverage instead of having to come up and get tackles, although he is one of the hardest hitters in all of college football, Stephen.
True.
He can. True. I'd love to see him hit, but I'd love to see him just go back there and lurk back there and get interceptions. So.
One thing that has been a plus for Alabama this season, Xavier Dixon, Ryan Anderson. The story on these 2 players, Ryan Anderson last season was a reserve jack linebacker. Xavier Dixon last season was tabbed as 2013 was supposed to be his breakout year. Both guys quiet. This season, they have awoken. Both guys, Ryan Anderson and Xavier Dixon, have 2 sacks each to lead Alabama's defensive group. The team as a whole has 7 sacks, but Xavier Dixon, Ryan Anderson each have 2. Both of those guys have been playing well and getting a pass rush to the opposing quarterback. As we said this week, the team is Florida, the venue is Bryant-Denny Stadium. As we run down this list here, Ivan, of stats, Florida offensively scoring 50.5 points per game. They average 595.3 yards total offense. They have 248 yards rushing per game, 5 rushing touchdowns, and they're converting third downs at 41%. But it all starts with Jeff Driscoll. Broken fibula, last year against Tennessee. This season, completing 63.6% of his passes, 543 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. Florida had a dogfight against Kentucky. 30-27, Kentucky, Mark Stoops took the swamp to the gridiron. Florida got the win 30-27, but Jeff Driscoll, you're coming to a hostile environment in Bryant-Denny. The last time Florida was in Tuscaloosa, 2011, they lost to the Crimson Tide, 38-10. What does Driscoll do in this game to get this team confident, get them playing loose, but get them playing smart? Because you're in a hostile environment.
although this sounds almost nearly impossible, you have to get the run game going. It's been preached before. I've said it before and I've said it again. It's finally made its appearance this season on the show. If you can get a great balance of run and pass, then you will be successful.
So you're putting this game squarely on the shoulders of Matt Jones, Matt Brown, and Kelvin Taylor.
If they can get the job done in the back end and take the pressure off of Driscoll. If Driscoll throws over 30 passes, it's over. Alabama's clearly won the game. If Driscoll can throw 20 to 25 passes, maybe 28 passes, then that's a good number for him to be throwing at in the game.
What about 15 to 20?
15 to 20, that would mean they've been running the ball very successfully. And that also be something well. As long as he doesn't throw the ball over 30 times, Florida does have a chance in this game. They have to make sure they're not too dependent on Jeff Driscoll. But also going back to the stats like you said, I am taking these stats that you named out at Florida with a little asterisk next to them due to the fact that their first game was rained out and never did happen in Gainesville against Idaho. So this is only 2 games that we're seeing them. Last week against Kentucky, in which was a shootout practically, and the previous week in which they faced a cupcake opponent.
Eastern Michigan.
So I'm taking these stats with a grain of salt, so to speak. So I want Jeff Driscoll to remember you have a run game, and I also want Will Muschamp to remember you can run the ball, and if you run the ball in a successful enough rate, you can be successful against Alabama.
And you do have a defense also for Florida. Dante Fowler Jr., a huge defensive lineman, a top NFL prospect, most likely this season, if he chooses to go after this season ends. You're talking about a pass rush specialist at Dante Fowler. But going back to the Florida run game, Matt Jones, 221 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. Kelvin Taylor, 132 yards rushing, and 2 touchdowns in his own right. Both of these guys will be pivotal in getting that run game started and getting it flowing. As I mentioned, defensively for Florida, it starts with Dante Fowler, but Vernon Hargreaves has a daunting task upon him. This young sophomore, he's been labeled as a shutdown corner. He leads the team with 7 pass breakups, but Vernon Hargreaves has been tasked to guard by far the smoothest receiver in the game in Amari Cooper. Can Vernon Hargreaves hold his own, or will Florida try to double team Amari Cooper?
You'll see a mixture of both. I think you'll see Amari Cooper on one-on-one coverage, and I think they're going to try and read out and see how he does against Amari. Now, I will remind everybody watching this show that Amari Cooper is arguably one of the top 3, maybe even the top receiver in all of college football. So that's a daunting task to ask any quarterback to do in all of cornerback to do in all of college football. With that being said, like I preached for Alabama earlier, I'd love to see Landon Collins be back there or taking top over the help. That's the same thing Florida has to hope. I'd love to see the safety be able to let the cornerback face him one-on-one and always have his back with over-the-top help. And now I do see that's the one thing I can see them double teaming. I don't think they're going to double team 2 corners. I think they're going to have a safety on him at all time. I think they're going to want to utilize him, but that's why I also have DeAndre White making his return this week for the Crimson Tide off that injury.
I like that.
Having a big game this week because I do think this is a step up in talent from all the defenses that University of Alabama has faced so far this season. Florida Gators are a much improved team from last year, even in the words of Coach Saban, much improved team.
When Saban says the word much 3 times, something's up.
There's something up. He can obviously see that there's more to this Florida team that meets the eye. With that being said, the University of Alabama needs DeAndre White to step up. They need the other receivers. They need the tight ends to step up. But as long as they have the 3-headed monster in the backfield, I feel like they should have enough confidence in this game.
The wide receiver group as a whole, Ivan, is the who wants it more factor. Who's hungry? Who's adamant about it? Yes, it's understandable. Lane Kiffin's system is to get the ball to the playmakers. But in order to get the ball to the playmakers, you have to identify the ones that want the football. You have to find the ones that are going to flash the number, run crisp routes, get down the field, create separation, make big plays. Amari Cooper has done that. In this football game, Florida's going to look to take away the bubble screens, the slant routes, the dink and dunk passes away from Amari Cooper. So it's time for guys like DeAndre White, Christian Jones. Is this the week they let O.J. Howard out of the cage? Is this the game where we see more of Chris Black or more of Darius Stewart, Robert Foster, Cameron Sims? We don't know. But the beauty of this offense is each week somebody new has a chance to step up, and somebody new has a chance to make a big-time play. But moving on from Alabama's wide receiver core, Florida has a wide receiver core. No one likes to talk about it, but they do. Demarcus Robinson has been the guy. He has stepped up and become one of Jeff Driscoll's favorite targets, one of his primary receivers. As we look at Mr. Demarcus Robinson, 21 receptions, 339 yards, 3 touchdowns. But it's not just him. People focus on him. Keep your eyes on Quinton Dunbar. Quinton Dunbar last year was Florida's go-to target, go-to receiver, primary, #1 guy. This season is a little bit overshadowed because of Demarcus Robinson, but Quinton Dunbar, 7 receptions for 88 yards. You look at Dunbar and you look at Demarcus Robinson. You're going up against an Alabama secondary. Let's just be honest. They struggle with playing the football so far. They're struggling with making tackles in space. Andy Jackson has been a little bit limited in practice. Nick Saban being very cautious with him, not wanting him to injure, tear, or tweak anything. You're looking at Jarrett Williams not being back until Ole Miss. Nick Perry, after the targeting foul he took against Southern Miss, will miss the first half of Florida. If you're Demarcus Robinson, Quinton Dunbar, what's going through your mind, and how can you get into the holes of this Alabama secondary?
The matchups are somewhat favorable for you in this game if you're a Florida wide receiver. And this also goes back to what I said earlier about Florida needing to run the ball more. If you can run the ball more, and Alabama does load the box up and presses those safeties and cornerbacks up so they can beat the run, that you've already beaten the University of Alabama's defensive back, and that's obviously their weakest factor on defense right now is the defensive backfield. If you can get them and leave Landon Collins on an island, like most teams have been trying to do but unsuccessfully have done, you have a good chance at winning this game, even though it is on the road. Alabama has not had great safety or defensive back play for a little bit now. Now, last year they had Ha-Ha Clinton-Dix, but beyond 1 or 2 key players back there with D. Milner, of course, and all that, we have question marks every year, and this year is no different. I need to see a lot more. Eddie Jackson, I need to see him step up and solidify his role as the lead corner and show that he is the man to beat.
I want to see Cyrus Jones step up. He's had signs of he can be an efficient cornerback, and then he's had issues with playing the ball, tackling in space. With Bradley Seal, it's the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde effect with Bradley Seal. He has speed, but it takes more than speed to be a cornerback. You have to have speed, physicality, and also play the football. The ability to play the football in the air and be physical with wide receivers. Another issue in this game, Blake Sims. Lane Kiffin has eased Blake Sims into the system with the short passes, with the slant routes, with the bubble screens. With Florida trying to take that away this week, is this a week that we see Blake Sims really show that confidence in his arm and push the ball, more of the deep passes, more of the post routes, more of the snuggle routes, more of challenging Florida with that vertical aerial assault game. Now, Blake Sims does display a good deep ball, but at times he seems hesitant. He overthinks, he double clutches, and he passes the ball later than what he should. Is this the week that he trusts his arm strength, trusts his mental aspect, and get the ball out when he sees a receiver open downfield?
I don't think so. I think this is another week of the West Coast offense because I feel like that's what Blake Sims runs and utilizes best when he's under center or in shotgun in his case. I feel like Blake Sims is going to utilize his legs, and it's going to show why the SEC especially needs more mobile quarterbacks and why Alabama maybe not should consider, but is going to see this year what a mobile quarterback can do for you. The past quarterbacks here have been A.J. McCarron, Greg McElroy. Yes, they were athletic quarterbacks, but they didn't have the speed.
We can't say John Parker Wilson to some extent.
We can't say John Parker Wilson to some extent. But I will say they don't have Blake Sims' speed, though. Blake Sims, and one factor that Blake Sims has impressed me with is sometimes the sidelines has to yell at him to run the ball when he has a running lane. He keeps looking upfield. His eyes are always downfield looking for a receiver. That's the factor I want to see what Florida's going to bite on. Are you going to bite on Blake Sims getting a gain with his feet, or are you going to try and stay back and block all the receivers?
I'm telling you, for the first time since Tyler Watts, 2001, Alabama has has that dimension at the quarterback position with Blake Sims' ability to not only run, but use his legs to set up his arm to throw the football downfield. And that's going to be very key in this football game. We're going to switch gears here, Ivan. We're going to have 5 keys to victory. You're going to give yours for Florida. I'm going to give mine for Alabama. For Florida, Ivan, what will be the 5 keys to victory for Florida in this football game?
The first factor would be keep Jeff Driscoll on his feet. As long as that man has time to throw, then everything's all right for Florida. Second factor is make sure you utilize wide receiver screens in this game. Cornerbacks for Alabama are going to tend to play off a little bit this game because they know that Florida does display a deep ball threat. I would like to see Florida, obviously would not like, but if Florida would like to win this game, they would have to throw wide receiver screens to kind of sneak up those cornerbacks and get them biting a little bit more. The third factor, as I stated earlier, rushing game. You have to rush for at least 100 yards in this game. And that's something that's not been done a long time against the University of Alabama at home, I believe. I think since the A&M game a couple years ago when Johnny came into town. I believe that was the last time that the University of Alabama had a 100-yard rush game against them at home. Another factor for this game, linebackers. Make your decisions quickly with Blake Sims. You have to make sure if you're going to bite quickly. If you're going to stay back, stay back. Don't be hesitant in either one. If you're hesitant in either one, you will get beaten. And the last factor that I have for Florida to win this game, special teams. As we saw last night with the Auburn-Kansas State game, kickers, punters,
do not remind me of that K-State game, but keep talking.
They need to focus on getting points on the board. If you can get points on the board or get Alabama stuck within their own 20-yard line, you are starting off very well. Make sure you don't leave empty-handed.
That's your 5 for Florida. Florida, take notes. Ivan L. White breaking it down for you. My 5 keys to victory for Alabama. Number 1, starting with Blake Sims. Move the football. Be effective. Keep doing what you're doing. Using your feet, being elusive. Don't be hesitant. If you see a receiver open downfield, give the ball to him. Play within your strengths, but move the football. Number 2, for the receivers, who wants it? Who's going to be adamant? Amari Cooper's done what he's done, and he's done well at it. But who's the next guy? They're going to look to take away Amari Cooper. Is it DeAndre White time? Chris Black time? Christian Jones time? O.J. Howard time? Doesn't matter. Who's going to be adamant enough and desire to want the football and make big plays with the football? That's number 2. Number 3, offensive line. Ari Kwanjo, Austin Shepard, Ryan Kelly, Cam Robinson in the game. Get your big boy pants ready. Get your pants ready. You got to move Florida's defensive line off the football. Create those run lanes. Keep the quarterback up. No penalties, but you got to move the football. That's number 3, the offensive line. Number 4, Alabama's defense as a whole. Starting off with the defensive line, a pass rush. Is our sacks good? Yes. But affect Jeff Driscoll. Jeff Driscoll is known for making mistakes. He's a good quarterback, hasn't been the elite quarterback that Florida has asked for, but he's still good in his own right. Alabama has to get a pass rush. Linebackers, find your gap, execute the assignments in your gap, secure, and make tackles. This is another game for Trey Priest. Reuben Foster, Reggie Ragland, Denzel DeBall, and company, whomever is on that field. Dylan Lee, your time to step up, make tackles in space. Alabama secondary, play the football. Be fast, be physical, get your head turned around, and play the football. And the last one is going to be special teams, as I've mentioned. Alabama's not going to get a touchdown on every possession. They're not going to score in every possession. The leg of J.K. Scott, the foot of Adam Griffith, both will be huge. J.K. Scott has got to pin Florida inside the 20, make them drive the ball down the length of the field early and often. Adam Griffith continue to put the ball in between the goalposts, keep an Alabama scoring drive alive by getting 3 points on the football. Well, that's all for the Alabama-Florida preview. But don't touch that down, because when we come back, we break down some other SEC matchups and national games from across the nation. You're listening to 15 and Counting, Touchdown Alabama Magazine's premier football show.